Issue 237. We start out with Draco telling Eggman they're behind schedule because the Wolf and Cat People alliance are too much for them. Eggman yells at them, the feed suddenly cuts out, and it's revealed that it was Orbot who did it, making Eggman whine, "I was in the middle of a rant!" This was actually pretty funny. Orbot says that it was either cut power to the communications or the oxygen feed because they're running on empty. I guess Eggman still has immunity to roboticization, because if he could roboticize himself, he wouldn't have to worry about oxygen at all. It'd be another advantage to him being a robot, but no. Metal Sally says that if they remove the matriarchs of the Wolf and Cat People, the two groups will turn on each other. Eggman pets her, complimenting her, saying that he'll let her take care of that while he reveals the Death Egg, as he couldn't destroy the continent with his limited resources. I wonder if she's using her natural manipulativeness and intelligence, and it's just being brought out by her being brainwashed to be loyal to Eggman, which is interesting. We see Lupe and the Cat Queen being kidnapped by Metal Sally instead of killed like she was clearly talking about earlier. Sonic says later in the day that while it's good to be back in the Wolfpack Nation, he hates that they're bringing them bad news. As we see Amy, Tails, and Teapup there too. I hope there's a good reason for why they're here just like Metal Sally by sheer coincidence. The heroes learn that Lupe's been abducted and her husband is dealing with the other pack chiefs on how to go to war over it. Tails and Sonic question this, and so do the other wolves, one of whom at least gives a reasonable excuse for why she doesn't think it's the cat people. The cats aren't subtle, so if they kidnap Lupe, there wouldn't be any doubt. Amy blames Eggman, and Tails says that they tracked him in the Death Egg here and were going to warn them about him and Sally. One of the wolf girls says that Lupe wouldn't hurt Sally, so she'd be the perfect agent to perform a kidnapping. Another wolf girl says that the pack chiefs won't listen to them because they're eager for an excuse to attack the cat people, and Lupe's husband is just beside himself with worry. They go into the jungle, and after Amy tells them everything that her team's been through recently, the girls say that their lives are boring because their pack used to tell them about all that they did as freedom fighters, but all they do these days is stand guard. They've actually been thinking of visiting the Nanite City, and maybe even trying to join Rotor's team since they crave adventure. They see the Cat Queen get chased down by Razor Claw and his minions, but before he can try to kill her, Teapup distracts him and the heroes attack the goons. Oh, as I was suspecting from her different design, this isn't the Queen, she's just an emissary, who says that the Queen and Grand Chief are in danger. And Wolf Girl is confused because this is the Queen. And then Sonic says that their culture is based on clothing, so no queenly robe means she's not the Queen right now. So, does that mean they held an election and voted in a different queen? Do they vote in queens, and that's why it doesn't matter who the person is? Could any imposter just break into the queen's building and steal her clothes and become the queen, and everyone be fine with that? Why would minions go after this lady then? It doesn't... She explains that the two of them were captured by robots, including someone the Grand Chief just assumed was a transformed Sally. This is getting ridiculous. Nobody just assumes that Metal Sonic is a roboticized Sonic. We see Lupe telling the Cat Queen that herself being roboticized was a horrible experience. And the Cat Queen says that being further modified as a robot is a dishonor and a disgrace. And she complains that there's no glory in her people lashing out at Lupe's because of this. Lupe says that the Cat Queen can stop them and she can help her reach that vent and escape because everyone's distracted resupplying the base. And the Cat Queen agrees to take off her queenly robes in order to fit in there. Back in the present, the Queen tells the cat guy that she's working with the heroes because they would drive back the Legion. He says that he'll follow her, but it'll be up to the wolves to listen, and if they strike first, it'll be their last. I'm reminded of the stupidly convoluted cultural difference, as the Queen wishes the Queen were truly here, as if she doesn't have any worth by herself without those clothes, or thinks that she doesn't. The story ends with Lupe being told that she has a high chance of immunity to roboticization, without explaining that maybe it's because she was de-roboticized by the Femme, and now she's having to deal with the risk of being legionized. If he changed the rules back, then why couldn't he change the rules back so that there is no roboticization immunity? In the next story, oh, they're actually trying to resolve this. Mina awkwardly stands outside of a building, telling herself, I can do this. I really sympathize with her right now. She awkwardly goes inside and asks for Nicole, and text shows up on a computer saying, I'm here. I'm where I can hurt no one. I'm where no one can hurt me. Mina wells up with tears, but instead of immediately apologizing, she just looks ashamed and says that the city needs her back because they're barely coping without her. We don't really see much evidence of that though. Nicole has to point out the obvious, that she's been exiled, and she snarks bitterly, you got just what you wanted. Ooh, burn. Finally, Mina apologizes, saying that this isn't what she wanted. She wanted the people to get empowered and ask the hard questions and stand up for themselves. But instead they just got angry and frightened. What did she expect? She admits that she didn't fully understand her situation at the time, but she does know what it's like to be controlled. While not relating to her about Mogul controlling her to fully seal the deal. So if you didn't remember this, you might be confused. She says that she wanted the freedom fighters to make sure she was alright instead of taking it on faith. Nicole says no to going back to the city, and says, I failed my friends, I could not save Sally, I was not there for Antoine, I watched Bunny leave. Mina tells her that all that stuff happened under Sonic's watch too. Wait, why didn't, if she watched Bunny leave, why didn't she just beam her Nicole program up to her and talk to her? Did she have to be in the same room as the council when they were deciding on her? She was in the council room, so how could she watch Bunny leave at the same time? She could have told her, hey, go to Rotor and get an arm cannon. Anyways, all that stuff happened under Sonic's watch too, but he didn't quit, and neither did Rotor. And Mina says, I'm trying to make things right with you, because I failed you. Nicole says, you failed me, as if she's doubting that. Mina apologizes that she had moved on to be a singer to inspire people, and instead she turned them against her, and says that she wants to make things right because she missed the mark with their last concert. I'm pretty sure if she suddenly goes out with a concert in favor of Nicole, her fans will get really mad at her for switching her opinion. And everyone's already against Nicole, the damage is already done. Nicole finally shows up in her body form, saying that Rotor modified the lab so she'd have more freedom, and she looks depressed while Mina happily says, there you are. Mina says that the city needs her back, ignoring that this is illegal and she'd get in trouble if the council found out, but whatever. And she says, and as selfish as it sounds, I need you back. I can't forgive myself if you remain locked up forever. I'm sorry, but that isn't enough. You need to be free. Nicole makes a reference to Dimitri telling her she should be brave and meet anger with reason. Mina says that she'll be a friend who supports her, and finally the two hug. When Nicole is smiling back as Mina asks, and can you forgive me for taking this long to say I'm sorry? Well, it makes sense that she'd be too ashamed to face her for so long. I'm just happy the writer bothered wrapping up this plot thread and resolving this. I honestly thought that wouldn't happen. Mina gets all naively excited about making a song to change people's minds, and I just have to roll my eyes and feel sorry for her because logically people aren't going to change their minds. She's just setting herself up for catastrophic failure. Worst case scenario, people might cynically accuse her of lying with their last message to get ratings and attention, just to flip-flop in the other direction to do it again. Nicole says happily that she looks forward to hearing that song, and she supposes that part of developing emotions is learning to cope with them as well. Also, Nicole's head is just a little too far to the left of the neck there. Mina puts her hand on her shoulder, and Nicole confirms that she's not hiding in a computer anymore. I'm glad that we get to see her organic form, since with her being banished from the only place where she can have it, I was worried we'd never see it again. The story ends with the Owl Man saying that he needs Miss Nicole's assistance for a project of his. It's sweet of him to call her that. This issue is by Ian Flynn. The first story starts up a story arc where Lupe is threatened with being legionized after being kidnapped to get the Cat and Wolf People's alliance destroyed. And there was this really confusing moment where the Cat Queen claims she isn't who she is because she isn't wearing the right clothes. How could a society not fall apart with that kind of culture? Like, a doctor is only a doctor if he wears doctor's clothes, so people will accept some random guy with no experience as a doctor? But what really matters is the second story. I'm so glad they bothered to have Mina apologize to Nicole. At this point, where they're setting up a million different plot threads to depressing plot points that'll forever be left dangling, I'm very happy that they're bothering to resolve this at all. They even hugged. I guess Mina didn't tell her the good excuse for why she betrayed Nicole. That she was traumatized by the Aaron Nicole stuff, because she was ashamed of looking weak and knows that Nicole's sensitive about being feared by anyone. But I really expected her to outright explain that she was afraid of her because of the Aaron Nicole thing, but she didn't. And it ends with Nicole being asked by an owl man for help.